Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 is all about doing sick tricks, getting big combos, and getting massive points. But what if I don't want to skate anymore? I mean, I did already 100% this game, so what's the next thing to do? How about trying to beat the game with as little tricks as possible? The complete opposite of what you're supposed to do. So that is exactly what we're doing today. But before we get into that, we have to establish the rules. First off, what counts as beating the game? What I consider beating for this game is unlocking the final level, which is the cruise ship. Second of all, what counts as tricks? Well, obviously any flip trick, any grab trick, any manual, and any grind. And what doesn't count as a trick? For this challenge, I'm going to consider the ollie not a trick. I'm simply going to treat it as a jump, because doing an ollie doesn't actually give you any points, so no points, no trick. That being said, however, a no comply, a fast plant, a boneless, any of those that give you an extra height on the ollie do count as tricks. So I'm not allowed to do any bigger jumps. I can only do the basic ollie, nothing higher. The last thing that I also do not consider a trick and are very helpful for completing this challenge are gaps. Now, gaps do give you points. However, I consider them not to be a trick because for the most part, a gap is just jumping from one place to another. And we've already established that an ollie is not a trick, so me simply jumping from point A to B is not a trick. It's simply an ollie. So that's the rules. Let's get into it. The Foundry is, of course, the easiest level since it is the first level. So the first thing we do, which is very easy and requires no tricks whatsoever, is collect skate. All the skate letters are in very easy positions. It's not a challenge at all. Just simply jump up and grab them all. And the next goal we get is the not so secret tape, which again requires 0 tricks. It's not that hard at all to get it. From the start, you just jump right up into the scaffolding, do a nice jump onto the beam, land on it, don't fall off, and get the tape without doing a single trick. And the next goal I decided to go for is the points, which is where the gaps come in that I was talking about. For the Foundry level, like every level, there are 3 different score challenges. For this one, there is a 10,000, 30,000, and 60,000 points challenge. After skating around for a bit and experimenting on different areas of the level, I came across one spot that was very useful to complete this. In this position where the big lava bucket dumps into the lava pool, there's a gap for jumping over the lava pool, and there's also a gap for jumping over the lava bucket. And of course, to do these gaps, you don't need to do any tricks at all. It's just a simple ollie. So that means if I just continuously jump over this lava pool over and over and over again for the full 2 minutes, I can just barely get that 30,000 points to get 2 of the point challenges complete without doing a single trick. Then there was one final goal on the Foundry that I thought I could do without doing any tricks, and I was correct. And that goal is to soak the foreman. Usually what you do, or at least what I do, is grind this rail and it soaks the foreman. But of course, I don't want to do any tricks, so instead of grinding on the rail, I had the thought to just jump into the hook that was hanging over it, and doing that did exactly what I thought it would. It soak the foreman. And then at this point, we have enough goals completed to move on to Canada. And once we're in Canada, I again go for the skate letters to begin with. And again, the skate letters are pretty easy to get without doing any tricks. So I immediately move on to the easiest challenge of the entire game, which is to get Chuck unstuck. And to do that, you just have to get over this fence and skate into Chuck. Obviously, there is no trick required there. There never is, even without doing this challenge. And then after helping Chuck, we move on to yet another extremely easy, no required trick goal, and that is to bury the bully. And how do you bury the bully, you ask? You simply just jump into this snow-covered tree. And then my next thought for a potentially easy goal was to get the secret tape, which, if you know, the way to get to the secret tape is you actually have to hit this lever to raise a ramp to gain access to the area to get the tape. Now, I wasn't sure if it would work, but my thought was just to jump into this lever and trigger it. And to my surprise, it actually did work. And I thought that this rail up here was going to be solid and I would just be able to skate across it and simply jump off the end to get the tape. However, to my shock, it was not solid. I went straight through it. and fell to my death. However, I did still try to somehow get the tape. I tried jumping across the wall. I tried jumping up the wall. I tried all sorts of stuff. But unfortunately, nothing I tried seemed to work. I mean, I did discover some sort of out of bounds glitch in a way. I have no idea what I did or how I managed to get in this position, but somehow I fell through the map and was falling to my doom for all eternity. But unfortunately, at this point, we're already at a point in the game where we have to commit our first crime. We have to perform some tricks. I didn't want to come to this, but we have to. I couldn't find any other way to do any of the other goals in the game that we have so far without doing any tricks. But thankfully, we can still do several goals with having to do only one trick each. So it's not too bad. It's barely even that much more than 0. So the first thing I do is do a melon grab over the blade very easily. Then we go back to the secret tape and get it the normal way by grinding over the rail and getting it at the end. And with those 2 goals done and those 2 tricks used, we were able to unlock the first competition level, that being Rio. And obviously the first thing I did in Rio was I experimented with gaps. However, after a brief experimentation time, I realized that doing only gaps did not stand a chance in hell of winning the competition. So we unfortunately had to do some tricks to actually win the competition. But thankfully, I did find a way to get just enough points to get a bronze medal in the competition by using only one trick per run. And how I did that, you ask? Well, I got to a position where I was able to jump onto the high wire that goes around the entirety of the map and jump off a ramp that by landing onto the wire from the ramp gives you a gap, and then grind on the wire, of course. Then I simply just held the grind as long as I possibly could to get as much points as I could. And with just that ×2 multiplier, I was able to get just enough points to get the bronze. So it is a little bit sad that we had to do some tricks to win the competition. However, it was only 2 tricks to beat the level, so it's not that bad. And then after winning my amazing bronze medal, we were able to unlock the next level, Suburbia. And thankfully, Suburbia has a few goals that are quite easy to do without doing a single trick. The first of those being to squash the 5 pumpkins. And to squash said 5 pumpkins, all you simply have to do is skate over them. And thankfully, all 5 of them are in easy to reach positions without having to do a single trick. And then just like the first few levels, the skate ladders are also very easy to get without doing any tricks. And we can also help the Thin Man with doing 0 tricks. Simply go to the construction site, skate close enough to this wooden beam to pick up the axe, and make your way over to the Thin Man, and you complete the goal. And then with that door open, you can also get the secret tape with again doing 0 tricks. Just go into the scary dark house I opened up for you, go jump the wall, go through the house, and you can just jump on out the window and grab the tape. But then, sadly, of course, after doing many more experimentation, trying to get points, trying to restore power to the dish, I was unable to find a way to do anything while doing 0 tricks. So first, I did a nose grab between 2 ramps, and then I actually went back to the foundry to do a few more goals there that are also easy to do in just one trick. First of all, I did the cannonball over the half pipe, and then I also did a grind on the bucket. Then I went back to Canada and was doing some more experimentation to try to get the first score challenge completed with just one trick. And after not too long, I found that if you grind on this big tree stump, you can sometimes get this gap called You're Over the Hill. I don't really know how you get the gap because sometimes I did a circle around it and got it. Other times I did a circle around it and didn't, but I was still able to get the gap completed while doing one single grind and get the high score challenge completed. And in doing so, I unlocked the airport. And the airport starts off pretty easy. The first goal I get is to stop the 5 pickpockets by simply finding them and skating over top of them and knocking them to the ground. But then after that very easy goal, we go for the skate ladders. And unlike the first 3 levels, this skate is not that easy to get without doing any tricks, mainly because of just the S. The S is in a position where ideally you would jump off of this little ramp here, grind on this light, jump across to the other light, and collect the S. But obviously I didn't want to do that. So I decided that to get the S, I would try to jump off the ramp, land on the light without doing a grind, and get the S. However, this was much easier said than done for multiple reasons. The first reason being that the light is not flat. It's a little hill, which means that whenever you actually land on the light, you immediately take a sharp left or right turn depending on where you landed on the light, and you can fall off immediately. It's very hard to stay on the light long enough to skate on it to be able to jump off of it to get the S. And the other reason why this sucks is that it's not very easy to line it up. I tried bonking on the counter at the start, but unfortunately it's too far to the right to actually line up perfectly. So not only do I have to try to line this up, but when I do land on it, I just immediately get sent off of it. So this actually took me a very long time. I just repeatedly jumped over and over and over and over and over again, trying to get the S, which took me about 20 minutes, but I did manage to get the S. But then came the K, which was in a very similar fashion to the S, where you were supposed to jump off the ramp, grab the light, and go across. However, thankfully, there is a much easier way to line up on this one, because this little rail right before the ramp, if you go parallel with it, you actually go straight towards the light and you can get onto it every time. So thankfully, after I finally got the S, I was actually able to just get the K without much trouble. And then the A, T, and E they're all easy. They're own spots where you just have to do a little jump to get to them. But then again, unfortunately, after doing more experimentation, I was unable to find a way to do any of the other goals without any tricks. I tried anything I could think of to pick up the skate tickets at the start without having to grind the counter. I tried multiple ways to get the secret tape. I also tried to break the country flags by jumping up from underneath, jumping into them from above. But again, unfortunately, I could not. So then I did the few goals I could with only doing one trick. First one being to get the tickets to my skate buddy. The only trick that you had to do was right at the start just to pick them up. After that, you just skate through the entire level, just don't wipe out. Then I did the trick challenge for the level, which was to do an airwalk over the escalator. Obviously that's done in just one trick because it is just one trick. And I also grabbed the secret tape, with the one trick being jumping off of the ramp and grinding on the rail to get to it. Even after doing all that stuff, I still needed a few more goals to unlock the next level. So I decided to go back to Canada to try to complete the score challenges. I've already done the one for 35,000 points, but there is still one for 70,000 points and 120,000 points. And I already had a plan in mind on how to do this, with effectively one trick for each goal. You see, during my experimentation, I found that these two bowls in the skate park area, there's actually a gap that you can get for a free multiplier for jumping from one bowl to the next while grinding on them. And then if you jump from the second bowl back to the first bowl, that's 2 gaps, and that's 2 free multipliers. So with this strategy, it did take me quite a bit, but I was able to finally do it. I was able to hold the grinds long enough to just barely get over that 120,000 mark with doing just 3 tricks, effectively doing one trick for each of those 3 goals. Even after doing those 2 goals, I still needed one more to unlock Skater Island. So I headed on back to Suburbia to clear the power lines, which I was able to do with just one trick. This one might actually be possible to do with 0 tricks. See, how I did it in one trick was by grinding the top wire to clear those branches, and then for the bottom wire, I was able to jump off of the roof and simply just hit them on the way down. So it might be possible to also jump into the branches on the higher wire. However, I just couldn't do it, but I was still able to do this goal with just one trick.
And then after clearing the line to help our friend watch some television, we unlocked Skater Island, the next competition of the game. And just like Rio, doing just gaps is not nearly enough points to win the competition, but I still went around for a little bit to experiment with gaps to try and find a good combination. My first thought was to jump off this ramp right at the start and then land in a grind in this pool. It sometimes gave you a gap for it. It was very inconsistent. But after fiddling with that for a bit, I decided to find something else. And after a couple minutes of experimenting, I found a very good combination that allows you to get 3 gaps using only one trick. What I found was if you jump from this half pipe over the stairs into the bowl and land in a grind, you get 2 gaps for it. 1 for jumping from the half pipe to the bowl and 1 for jumping over the stairs. And then I also discovered that while on the grind, if you jump off at the right time to jump over the rail back into the half pipe, you get yet another gap. So doing this, you're able to get a 4 times multiplier with doing just one trick. It still took me a few tries because I was able to hold the grind just barely long enough to get the points required. And I again won the competition with only a bronze medal, but that's good enough for me because all you need is any medal to unlock the next level. And that next level being Los Angeles. And unfortunately, Los Angeles is not the most no trick friendly goal place. There are a few you can do pretty easily without doing any tricks. First of all, skate. The majority of the letters like the S, K, A, and E are in very easy to reach places. The T is also very easy to reach. It just required a little bit of a jump. So skate again was very easy. And then the next very easy goal to do without doing any tricks is to free the balls, because all you have to do is skate over to the balls and bump into them. Then they fall off and they're free. But then sadly, those are the only goals that I managed to do without doing any tricks. I attempted to get the secret tape without doing tricks, but I couldn't even find a way to get on the roof to jump across all the gaps, even with doing one trick, let alone no tricks. I moved on from that and I did the 1 foot Japan trick over the tower gap. I then for a while tried to get the high score challenge while doing only one trick using this pool that you can infinitely grind, but with the lowest score on this level being 100,000, it was very tough to do with just one trick. I feel like it is possible, but I just couldn't find a way to do it. I tried grinding on this pool here for an infinite grind, plus there's a guy next to you that can give you some tread props, which gives you a free multiplier for not doing anything, but it seemed to be very inconsistent and I could not hold the grind nearly long enough to do it. So I moved back to other levels to try to beat the 6 goals needed to unlock the next level. First I went to the foundry to try to find somewhere where I could do an infinite grind loop, but I unfortunately could not find anywhere in the entire level to do it. So I moved on from the foundry to suburbia to try to get the score challenges completed. And again, after more experimenting, I came across a strategy that I thought would work. What I did was I jumped from this ramp to the other to get a gap multiplier, and then when I hit that ramp, I did a revert on the bottom to keep the combo going, and then jump soon enough to not land the trick so that I can then land in a grind on this pool and build up the points with that 3 times multiplier. So the point goals for this level are 55,000, 110,000, and 200,000. The 110,000 should be fairly easy with the 3 times multiplier. The 200,000, not so much. But even with this strategy, I was barely able to hit that 110,000 mark. So I actually decided to throw in 1 extra trick with the extra multiplier to easily get the 110,000. So I effectively got 2 goals completed with 3 tricks. Still not that bad, but it is the most tricks per goal we've had so far. But then after getting those 2 goals, I went on to the airport to once again go for a score challenge. And I found a very good spot to attempt the score challenge. Now the scores for this one are 75,000, 150,000, and 300,000. And with this strategy I found, the 75k and the 150k are very easy. The 300,000, again, quite hard. But this is the strategy I found. You can grind on this baggage claim area, and every time you do a full loop around it, you get a gap. so each one increases your multiplier. And the circle is small enough where if you hold the grind for only 20 or so seconds, you should get about a 7 or 8 times multiplier, maybe even 9. And so this is just exactly what I did to complete these goals. Doing this strategy, it is definitely 100% possible to do with just one trick, as there was one time during this where I hit the 300,000 but I wiped out. So this is 100% possible. I was already doing this, grinding in circles over and over for like 40 minutes, so I decided that unfortunately I would just settle for doing it with 2 tricks. So I still did 3 goals with only 2 tricks, so it's actually less than 1 trick per goal, so it's not that bad. But then still, even with doing all of those point challenges, I needed 1 more goal to unlock Tokyo. And after going back through all levels, there was unfortunately nothing that I could find to do with just 1 trick anymore. So I settled on going to the airport and doing the goal to visit all 10 countries, which all you simply have to do is grind these rails to smash each of the flags. And there are 2 rails to do it on, so that's what I did, and I settled for 2 tricks for 1 goal. And in doing that, we did finally unlock Tokyo, which is yet another competition where we've already established that doing just gaps will not settle at all, especially in Tokyo, as the requirements for points are much higher. The strategy that I found quite quickly for getting gaps was to do with these rails in the center of this area. See, if you grind on the inner rail or the outer rail and jump to the other rail, that's a gap. But sadly, after doing this strategy, and I got a pretty good run where I got about 85,000 points, that still was just not enough to even compete for the bronze medal. So after seeing that, I sadly knew what I had to do. After jumping from one rail to the next, I had to then jump back to the other rail to get another multiplier, which obviously, I mean, that meant I had to land on the rail, causing me to do another trick. So this is the most devastating news I've ever come across, but I did unfortunately have to do 3 tricks per run to get just the bronze medal in this stage. That means I had to do 6 total tricks in this competition just to get the bronze. So unfortunately, that's the best that I could come across. So doing 6 tricks in 1 level is just absurd. But we did it, and we got the bronze medal, and we unlocked the cruise ship, the final secret level, which means we have beaten the game. We have made it to the end, doing as little tricks as we possibly could. But of course, I didn't stop there. I had to go to the cruise ship to see how many goals I could do without any tricks. The first one that you can do, you can trash the museum, because you have to hit these wires on this fan to unleash it from its doom and cause havoc on the ship. And you can simply do that by just skating into the wires. And the next thing that has been a theme in every level is collecting skate. Fairly easy. The S is in a not too easy to get to spot, but it is fairly easy if you jump off this slide into it. The rest of the letters are again very easy to get without doing any tricks. You just get some air and jump into them, easy peasy. And then the other thing that is very easy to do without doing a single trick is to raise the ferry, as just like the wires for the trash museum goal, all you have to do is hit the electrical box. You don't have to do a wall ride or anything, which is what I usually do. You just have to jump into it and it raises the ferry and you complete the goal. But now we are officially done with the game. And let's do a recap to see how many tricks we had to do to get here. So in the Foundry, we managed to do 7 goals with only 3 tricks. In Canada, we managed to do 8 goals with 5 tricks. In Rio, we managed to get the bronze medal with doing only 2 tricks. In Suburbia, we managed to get 8 goals with 5 tricks. In the airport, we managed to do all 9 goals with 7 tricks. In Skater Island, we managed to get the bronze medal with doing only 2 tricks. In Los Angeles, we only got a measly 3 goals completed with 1 trick. In Tokyo, we got the bronze medal again while doing 6 tricks. And finally, at the cruise ship, we were able to do 3 goals without doing any tricks. So in total, we managed to get 48 goals and 3 bronze medals doing only 31 tricks, which comes out to just over 1.5 tricks per goal / medal, which I think is not that bad. I mean, I was hoping to not have to do any skateboarding at all, but having to do only one trick for a lot of goals, I'm okay with that. I'm happy with what I've accomplished today. I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 in the incorrect way, and I was able to get to the end with doing only 31 tricks. So now the video is over. So if you did like this video, please let me know by leaving a like, maybe tell me in the comments, what do you think of my strategies? Did I do good? Did I come up with some good strategies? Because I think I did pretty good. And if you like PS2 content and videos such as this, why not subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos? And that's all. I've got nothing left to say. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.